Hello, welcome to Reclaiming Your Voice, the podcast where we tell the truth about what it means to live, lead, and show up fully in spaces that were not always built with us in mind. I'm Dr. Marva Tutt, educator, leadership strategist, and your favorite voice liberation advocate. Each episode, we create space for real conversations about identity, power, purpose, and the courage it takes to stop shrinking and start speaking. This is not just a podcast, this is a movement toward clarity, toward healing, toward alignment. If you've ever felt misunderstood, overlooked, or like you had to become someone else to survive, you are in the right place. So take a deep breath, settle in, and let's begin the work of reclaiming your voice. So I have with us today Dr. Laura Knights, and let me tell you, I am so excited. I am new to the podcast space. Like, I heard people talk about them and listen to them and all this kind of stuff, but I never did it. So I was helping my cousin. She said she wanted to do one, so I'm like helping her do all the work to get one together. I said, well, I think I might kind of like this. So I started listening to them all the time, and yours is one of the first ones I started listening to. And I look for it like every week. So and all of y'all that I listen to, all say you gotta just take a bold leap sometime. So I said, well, all she can say is no. So that's why I asked you, could you be on here, and you here today?
Yay.
And I am just so elated. Oh my God, I'm just so overjoyed that you said yes.
Oh, thank you so much.
So now I'm going to let you tell the audience who you are and what you do.
Awesome. Thank you so much. First of all, I just want to thank you because we have these dreams, we starting something new, and there's a lot of reasons to not do stuff, right? So kudos to you for taking the leap, and I'm just grateful to be here. But a little bit about me. I'm Laura Knights. I'm the founder of Knights Consulting and the creator of Black Woman Leading. And just a little bit about what I do at Knights Consulting. We really go inside of organizations and help leaders and their teams work together better so that they can achieve their goals together. The business goals, the organization goals. That looks like a lot of training, coaching, advising, program development. And then we have our own initiative called Black Woman Leading, which is the podcast that Dr. Marva referenced. In addition to a podcast, we also have a number of cohort programs, events, and things of the sort to really support Black women along their career journey as they're building their leadership and going after their dreams and professional visions as well. So excited to be here. I'm a leader of a small team. We're small but mighty. And so I always want to honor the team because couldn't do most of the stuff we do without the team.
So I know you're having the retreat in May in Myrtle Beach, but where are you actually located?
Yeah, I'm in the Atlanta area. So the company is based in the Atlanta area, but we serve people across the country in Black Women Leading and globally in our corporate work. And most of our team is all over too. There's like 3 of us here and the other 7 are in other places across the country, but we're based in Atlanta. Yeah, we're based in Atlanta.
Okay. Well, I'm just down the road in Augusta.
Okay, we had to find lunch or something. A meetup spot.
Right. That sounds good. So I'm gonna jump right in. So tell us about your journey. Like, what experiences shaped your leadership path?
Yeah, I mean, I think just if I think about before even becoming a quote unquote professional, I'm the youngest of 7. The youngest of 7 children, loving family, love all my siblings. My dad is no longer with us, but was a great dad. But from a young age, my parents really cultivated my leadership skills. So very involved in activities in school and in community and through our church and all of these kind of things. And so always was told that I was a leader, right? Even before I think I had an identity around that, always expected that I would be a leader. So there was a sense of expectation that my parents led with. But even when I got to college and and on throughout my education, I was doing that. I was leading the women's prayer group in undergrad, right? I was, participating as a peer career coach. So there was always this sense of expectation that really came from my parents of to whom much is given, much is required. And being a baby, my siblings would joke that they sacrificed so that I could. Mom and daddy was still trying to figure some stuff out with them. But when I got there, the last one, I get the benefit. So that was a little bit of my beginning, my formative upbringing. But just professionally as a leader, my career path is very interesting. I started in organizational development and HR. That's what my undergrad degree was. In a business degree focused on organizational development. And so straight out of college, I went into going into organizations and doing hiring and helping people, build up their staff, a more elevated version I'm doing now. But that was my very first professional experience. And after having a little bit of corporate experience and this not really doing it for me, one of my mentors at the time, who was an executive director of a nonprofit, asked me to come to her organization because she got a really large grant, and she said, you ain't liking what they doing over there with you anyway, so come on over here. And so in my 20s, I became a nonprofit executive and helping her build out her organization and build sustainability. And she really took me under her wing and just taught me fund development, program development. I just had a world-class hands-on education under her tutelage. So I went from a corporate environment to nonprofit executive, and doing the work we were doing in communities, I got really empowered. We were in Chicago at the time. I'm from Chicago, and I was working. It was a youth development and workforce development organization, and I was working with a lot of really bright people but were in poor neighborhoods. Poor life outcome, both parents incarcerated. Addiction in the family, and so these were very brilliant young people, but had a rough situation to get out of to be successful. And after seeing the things that they were going through, I'm like, man, there's a root cause I need to work on. So I went back to become a social worker. I got my master's in social work, became a clinician, a LCSW, and a family therapist for a period of time. Okay, so I'm almost done with this, but I just want you to see the arc that got me here. Corporate, nonprofit leadership, community development work, social worker, therapist. Okay. My last professional stop before I became a full-time entrepreneur is that I was actually recruited by a university from some work I had did with them before for a new role that was the combination of all of my skills to date. So half of the role was staff development and innovation, which is the stuff I do now in organizations, helping to build our staff's capacity. That was half of my role. The other half of my role, the university had this commitment to be a good neighbor around. I was working at University of Illinois at Chicago, on the west side of Chicago. Lots of poor Black and brown communities around that institution, and they wanted to give back to the community. And so I oversaw a lot of economic empowerment programs that were for the community: workforce development, English as a second language, financial literacy, get your GED, all these kind of programs. And it was the best of both worlds because I got to develop the staff, but then I got to use this social worker part. So if I think about putting all that together, that sounds like, girl, you was all over the place. You don't know what you wanted to do. But it really has converged for me to do the work I do today. And I talk about doing head work and heart work in the work that I do with leaders. So all of that tactical stuff, the HR, the org development, the program development, but then all the other stuff, the therapist, the social worker, really has helped me to bring all of that to the work I do today to develop leaders from the inside out. So it has been a very interesting path, but I wouldn't change any of it. It's really helped me to become kind of how I can contribute today.
Good. So you mentioned that you are the baby of 7.
Yeah.
Youngest of 7, I'm the youngest of 3, and I hate when they call me the baby, but that's leading to my question. So, being the youngest of 7, when did you realize that your voice mattered?
Yeah, I think I was really blessed because I was everybody's baby. Because I have my oldest siblings are twins, a boy and a girl. They were 14 years older than me. So when my parents both being working parents, that older sister was getting her hair together in the morning. They were picking me up from the daycare on their way, walking back home from school and all of this. So from a young age, I was doted on even by my siblings. I was everybody's baby, and in a lot of ways, that showed me that I mattered because I felt that love. They would say I was spoiled, and I was. When I was in high school, my siblings was grown and had their own apartments and working. So if I wanted something from the mall and my mama was like, nope, you couldn't get it, I would just be like, Mom, I'm going over to Sarah's house, and I would appear with that shirt, right, from my big sister. So, they did spoil me, right? But it was because I was loved and I really experienced that. I feel like those early beginnings, that was this big community, not just my siblings. Both of my parents was, siblings of 9, huge family, cousins. Okay. We was, you know what I mean? I had cousins around that was like siblings. My aunties was like my second mama. So my village really poured into me and all the children in our family. And I knew from a young age, just because I was loved, that my voice mattered.
Good. I love it. So I told you how I found you. So it's what made you say yes to the podcast?
Well, I think that it's a privilege. First of all, people ain't got to listen to you. People do have a lot of stuff to do. They ain't got to listen to you. They don't have to care about your story. So I think anytime there's an opportunity for me to offer some insight, some encouragement, and people actually want to hear what I got to say, I consider that a privilege. So I usually don't turn down things unless it's just like values, something about the values is off, or it doesn't feel like, connecting to me personally. But if it's positive and we helping people, I'm usually down for it. Yeah.
Well, good. Thank you so much. So, what spoke to you about the message reclaiming my voice?
Yeah, I love the language reclaiming, right? Because sometimes you hear, and I think about the work I do with Black women leaders in our Black Women Leading Initiative. There's a lot of people that I work with at a season of their life when they spend a lot of time investing in a lot of other people. And they had that moment and like, well, dang, I need to invest in myself. I need to put the energy to myself in the same way that I've been kind of supporting and pouring into other people. And you will find sometimes people say, well, I need to find my voice. Or I need to, and find means you never had it. You know what I mean? Reclaiming means that it's something that's always been in you, but maybe you're uncovering that, right? You're dusting that off. And so I love the concept of reclaiming my voice because it helps people to return to themselves, to remember, maybe before, tough stuff happened to them in life or, just different circumstances. We sometimes have situations in life that will take us away from our core or our purpose or our knowledge of ourselves. So when I just read it and what you were trying to do, it really resonated to how I look at my work too, and helping people to uncover their full potential that's already there.
So you have, you've been poured into, you've had mentors pour into you. So do you ever have a time when you felt like you were misunderstood or overlooked?
You know what's funny? I'm actually thinking about a personal example in my life. And I remember there was a season of life. I'm an entrepreneur. So the good thing about an entrepreneur is that it's easy for us. I won't say easy. We have maybe sometimes more options to turn up our income. If I say, oh, I need to make some extra money in Q3 because I have some things I want to take care of. As an entrepreneur, I can really make a plan and find another contract to get that extra money, right? And so I remember this was a season in life that my family had a lot of things going on. We had a lot of goals. We had some financial commitments. We were helping some of our loved ones in our family too. And it was kind of a financially tight time. And I made a commitment to take on some extra work because I had the flexibility to do that, to make some more money for us so that we can, not only take care of ourselves, but to continue to support some of the elders we were supporting and things of the sort. Well, I'm working like a Hebrew slave over here, okay? Tag, girl. But I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel because I know this was for a transition. And some of my loving family said to me, you work too much. You never around. We miss you. And that really hurt me to my core. And I had to kind of have a moment to check because what I heard was, you're not a good mother. But that ain't what they said. Right? Mm-hmm. That ain't what they said. So when I tell you I was all in my feelings, I'm over here trying to do this for y'all. All in my feelings, crying to the Lord and all this kind of stuff. And then I had to really step back and say, they didn't say that you weren't a good mother. That was some of my own stuff coming up, my own guilt. Mm-hmm. They said, we miss you. And I was working hard, so I could see why, they missed you. So I've had a couple of moments like that in my life here and there. And I teach people about self-awareness, but I have to do that work myself too, that sometimes we could feel like we doing stuff, it's stuff for a good cause, but we have to consider impact and not just intent, right? My intent was to help my family, but my impact was that it was negatively impacting my relationships, right? And so that's a time that I remember because I was talking about it the other day with my husband, and we were reflecting back to that moment. I have wisdom in the hindsight now, but in the moment, my feelings was hurt. I think I had an attitude for a good 2 or 3 weeks. That like, forget y'all then, I ain't gonna help y'all then, right? But I got it together. But I think we all have moments like that where we have to pause and make sure we didn't make up a message that people said to us, and that we heard what was underneath that, if we want to kind of repair our relationships and things too.
So with you working like that and knowing you can pick up projects because you're an entrepreneur, what helps you stay grounded?
Yeah, I think foremost is my faith, right? I understand that everything that I'm doing, I'm trying to do to the glory of God, even if it's a corporate contract, right? Ultimately, I want my creator to be pleased with what I'm doing with the gifts that he gave me. So I think having time to be connected in faith, and to me that looks like, I'm a Christian, so to me that looks like reading my word. I sing on the praise and worship team at my church, so being involved in the serving of other people, those kind of things, prayer and quiet time. But also I think just my community, my family, my husband. My husband is my best friend. We will be married for 23 years in November. If he rocking, I'm rolling, and vice versa. Just having people who know you outside of, what everybody else see, that could check you if you need to be checked. That could tell you tripping. But that can also tell you you're brilliant. That's beautiful what you're doing. I'm proud of you. And so I think those two things are really my base, my faith, and my personal relationship with God, but also my family, my friends. I've been really blessed to have a core of girlfriends that have seen me in every season of my life. I have friends that I was like really close friends that I'm still close with, and we met in kindergarten, okay? So I can't front nothing with them. They have seen me through every different stage of my life. And so I think just cultivating those relationships too has really been a blessing to help me stay grounded.
So most of the people I interviewed so far, they're an entrepreneur in some way. And so I like to hear the journey of how you became an entrepreneur. Like, how did you start? What made you go ahead and take that leap of faith, and the kind of the ups and downs of that journey?
Yeah.
And how you're feeling about it now.
Yeah, so I've been an entrepreneur for about 16, 17 years now. But I was an entrepreneur as a teenager. And I say this is where it came from. My very first job was a business. Both of my parents were entrepreneurs. My father was an accountant. He had a corporate job as an accountant, but he also had a small business tax agency where he did taxes for other small businesses. He had an office in our house. So it was always entrepreneurs in our house. The local cleaners was his client, right? The African food restaurant was his client. So we always had entrepreneurs in our house because my father did their taxes and financial advising for them. So I was always around that. And then my mother was like an Avon lady for like 25 years, girl. She had people under her. So we were packing them bags in the living room, dropping off them, dropping off the books to all the little local businesses that would let her put her card and books, and taking the bags to the people at the grocery store who ordered their stuff, and she delivered to work. So I always saw entrepreneurship around me as a child. Because my parents were very engaged entrepreneur. But I actually had my very first business at 15. I was a neighborhood tutor. And I kind of hustled my way into that because my father told me I couldn't have a job because I needed to focus on school. And he said, if you want to make a little bit of extra money, because we didn't get allowances and all that kind of stuff. If you wanted something, you could ask your parents. If they had it, they would give it to you. But I didn't get like allowance, and I wanted my own money that I could see and feel. And my dad was like, nah, you need to focus on school. You got your whole life to have a job. Now, he would let me work in his tax business, typing up tax returns to make a couple dollars here and there. But it was just, help when he had something. But I used to volunteer with a club at school when I was in high school, and we would tutor the kids at the library once a week. Well, one day, one of those parents came and said, my girl, she had two girls. She said, my girls love you so much. They need more than this one day a week. Can you come to our house a couple days a week? I'll pay you. And when she said that, I'm like, bet. And that launched my first business. I had retainers. I had clients on retainers. The parents would pay me monthly. I had some clients that I had for like literally their whole elementary school, 4 years, that kind of thing. So anywho, I say all that to say I always knew that I'm gonna be doing something entrepreneurial. And then even in my young 20s, I always had side hustles. For example, I used to be a wedding planner. I used to do like invitations and stuff for people's party. And that was back then before we had the Evites and all of that. When people wanted a real cute little invitation, you opened up and it was colorful and all that kind of stuff. So I always had side hustles like that to make money. Wedding planning, all kinds of stuff like that. When I started to really take entrepreneurs seriously, even when I worked full time at the university, I was doing career coaching and workshops and things like that for my network and getting paid. But when I decided to go full time into entrepreneurship, and I've been a full time entrepreneur now for 10 years, where I didn't have another employment, the business is it. It was really me wanting to spend more time doing what I wanted to do and have more freedom around my time. Now that's a lie. I'm gonna explain that because somebody's an entrepreneur, and the reason why you want to be an entrepreneur is to have time freedom. That's eventually where you get, but when you first start, you got to make some money, especially if you don't have a job. So I did not have time freedom right away because I was trying to really make money. I have time freedom now as a more established entrepreneur. But it was always with me, whether a side hustle, a teenage business, and over time that really morphed into, okay, I'm going to really do this because I got to hire people and I have a team of 10. So we got to make money so you can pay these people now. So that's kind of been the vein from me, from like side hustle to real full-time entrepreneurship.
Okay, so look, so you say you were born and raised in Chicago. What brought you to the Atlanta area?
My husband. Now, I was with him in Chicago, but he said he needed a change of pace. He would always, he spent a lot of time in Atlanta for music. My husband is a professional musician and producer. So he was always in Atlanta doing work anyway. And he said he needed a change of pace. He needed something fresh. And at the time, I was stepping into full-time entrepreneurship. I was a full-time entrepreneur. And he was like, you can do your work anywhere. So let's do it. I had also just had a baby. My baby had made 1 year old. He was 1 when we moved. And so I had a little bit of postpartum stuff going on. And he was talking about this moving. And I was looking at him like, yeah, he just talking. Because my husband is one of those Chicago to the day I die kind of people. And so I just thought, he just talking. That man ain't talking about nothing. And he kept talking about it. And so I said, well, if you want to do that and you get everything together, find us a place and all that, I go. Thinking that I'm just selling wolf tickets, right? And that he not going to take me up on it. Girl, that man found a house. And I was like, oh, we really doing this. So it was really my husband needed to change in pace. And I have to thank him for his vision. Because initially when we moved here, I was like, this was not a good decision. I felt like, I'm not an entrepreneur, I'm an extrovert. So my community was really big in Chicago. And when you grown and you got kids and you run a business, creating a new community takes work. And so I'm like, now I'm here in Georgia. I don't got my people here. I got to rebuild my network. So I had an attitude for probably a good year or two. I just felt like it wasn't a good idea. Like I didn't feel good about it. But now that I look back, and we'll be here for 10 years this year. Now that I look back, it was the best decision for our family. It really was. So I have to shout out Mr. Knights for his vision and leadership because I was not there.
That is too funny.
Yeah.
So let's have a little fun for a second. With your husband being a professional musician, it's gonna be funny.
Yes.
What's your walk-up song right now?
So this is so funny. This is gonna sound like a shameless plug, but I promise you, it's the real thing. So my husband is working on. He is one of the people that works on other people's projects, producing their stuff, right? But he's working on his own project now that's gonna come out later this year. So because he's working on this in our home, we have a studio in our home. you hear his music all the time. So he has a song that is literally my kind of get myself together song. And it's not out yet, but y'all be able to hear it before this year is out. It's called Winning. And there's a part in the song that says, striving for greatness, work to get better. I ain't done until I'm done. They can't stop me because I'm winning. And that's really how I feel in this season of life, not just like around business, but just around just my own wisdom and what I'm trying to do and how I'm contributing to the world. I just feel like, God got me. I'm unstoppable. I really feel like that. I don't feel like there's not challenges. There's challenges, but I really feel like I'm winning in this season of life. And that song is playing on rotate in the house.
So look, I asked you about your entrepreneur journey, but I want to ask you about your podcast
Yeah.
too. So how did you get started with that, and how long have you had it? Because I told you I'm new to the podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this year is April, actually, is 5 years of our podcast.
Okay.
I think we got about 180 episodes or something like that. And initially it started, so I told you about the Black Woman Leading Initiative where we do leadership development programs. Our podcast is also called Black Woman Leading. This is an extension of those programs. It started because at that time I had been running Black Woman Leading in the programs for about a year. And we work with, we have different programs, but we have an early career program. We have a program for mid and senior level leaders as well. And at the time, we only had the program for mid and senior level leaders, but we were having amazing conversations in our programs and in our group sessions. And I'm like, dang, this is really fire what we talking about. Other people need to hear this. How can we spread these conversations to other places? And so the podcast came up as a way to kind of amplify the conversations we were having in our smaller community on a broader platform. And at the time, I started with this sister named Nakia. She had a business. She's not doing that anymore. But she had a business where she would basically help you get started with the podcast, launch everything, help you do your show notes, all of that. So I started with her at first, and that really helped me get into the groove. Because I tell you, Dr. Marva, I am not the person in this season of my life. I'm not the person that's going to go and research for 2 weeks how to do it. I'm the person that's going to find somebody who know how to do it and pay them to help me. That's just where I am in this season. Other seasons of life, when I didn't have the provision to do that, I would do that. But now I'm like, oh, you've been doing that for 10 years? Can I pay you to consult with you for a minute for you to tell me how to do the shortcut of what you learned in 10 years? So that's what I did with Nakia. She really helped me to get started and really build the identity around the podcast. And then since then, we've really built a team because I'm the person as well that all that technical follow-up and all that, if I don't have people helping me, y'all wouldn't have heard me after season 1, okay? I would have been like, this is too much. So now my husband is on the team as my producer. If he wasn't my husband, I wouldn't be able to afford him, but I can afford him. So he owed me. So my husband is my producer, but I have some of our team members support with our visuals and the show notes and all that kind of stuff. And what I would say to people who listen to your podcast, you think Dr. Marva just get on this call and just talk and that's it. It is a whole bunch of work behind the scenes. She got to reach out to her guests. She got to think about questions. She got to do some production on the other end. So it really is a labor of love for me. I enjoy it. What is really rewarding for me is when people reach out to me and say that episode really helped me. I was thinking about something you and that guest said and it really, answered a question. That's really rewarding for me to know that something that we're saying is blessing somebody and helping them through a season in their life. So we've been rocking for about 5 years and we are preparing for season 9 now that will launch in July.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So you're right. Your show really resonates with me. I tell people I'm on the other side of 50 now. And so,
you like, I ain't got time for these games.
I don't. And it's like, I moved back to Augusta because I lived in some other place and I came on back home and I tell people I'm pre-retirement. But in that pre-retirement other side of 50 mean, no, I'm not putting up with it. And this is who I am and either you're going to accept it or you're not. And so when I listen to people on your show, and you It's like you're you're authentically yourselves, you're unapologetic, and you're really out there helping other black women know that it is okay to be myself,
Yes.
and I can still get what I want without shrinking.
Yes.
And so that's what resonates with me about your show and your
Awesome.
guests.
Thank you.
And so I would love to be there at Myrtle Beach. I used to live in Myrtle Beach. That's why I just moved back from. But
man, I wish you could join us. Look, I just looked today. We got 2 weeks to this event, but we do it every May.
Yeah.
So if this year don't work,
Okay.
and we moved the location around too, just to give our guests, because our guests come from across the country, so to get them another little spot to go to that maybe they haven't been to yet.
Right. So, what advice would you give to someone who is afraid to speak up?
Yeah. Sometimes if we think about afraid to speak up, and we can think in different contexts, right? You can think about it at work, you can think about it in your relationship, you can think about with your family, right? A couple of things. First, I want to validate. Sometimes we are afraid to speak up because externally we are in an unsafe environment, right? And so I just want to validate that. Other times we are afraid to speak up because we don't trust ourselves. We don't trust our own voices. And it may be a combination of the two. So I would say if you're in an environment where you're not speaking up, not because you don't trust yourself, but because it's unsafe for you to do so. I think about a number of different scenarios we can think of. I think about the workplace, right? And people that are sometimes in toxic workplaces where even though we know retaliation is illegal, people do it. And so people are like, I'm afraid to speak up because I need my job and I need to take care of my family. And I would encourage you to use your wisdom there, but also see if there's an exit plan you can create for yourself. Because anywhere that feels that unsafe, where you can't share your voice, is usually bad for your health and not sustainable for you. I'm not saying quit your job and don't be able to pay your bills, but see if you can create you a plan of transition. So assess the environment. If the environment is unsafe, is there something that you can do to bring yourself to safety first? If it's an internal thing, it may be because it could be a number of reasons. If it's I'm not speaking up because maybe I'm afraid of my own voice. I don't have the confidence. Maybe I had some real bad things happen to me in my life and it's told me that my voice doesn't matter, right? I would really encourage you to get some help if you find that there's some things that happened in your past life that have told you you're not worthy, your voice don't matter. That could be abuse, that could be any kind of trauma that you've experienced. And I just want to validate if somebody's listening and that resonates with them, that you are not weak for seeking help. You are not weak for, seeing a therapist, seeing a counselor. If you know there's some things that happened to you that left a scar that is negatively impacting your functioning now. So I would say get some help in that instance. But then sometimes it's not necessarily a traumatic thing like that we need to heal from. It's that we haven't spent enough time with our own voice to trust it, right? We talk about cultivating relationships, but the biggest relationship is with yourself, right? So I would encourage people to, outside of those things of assessing safety and getting some help, if there's some healing or some trauma you've endured, spend some time with yourself, getting aligned on what's important to you, some reflection, some prayer, some journaling, whatever that is for you. What are your values? What's important to you in this season? As Dr. Marva said, in this season, what is the thing you just not going to take? I mean, right. Whether you on the other side of 50 or not, you just like enough is enough. It's very important that you confirm those things for yourself because they become boundaries. And once you have those things clear, it sometimes gives you the courage to say, these people are not my judge here. I can say what I want to say because I'm not worried about being judged by them, right? So I would look at those things. Assess the environment. Can you move into a safer environment, right? If it's the environment that's really holding you back. Assess if you have some hurt, trauma, something that has scarred you, that has made it unsafe for your voice, or who has taken your voice away. Can you get some help to process that, to heal that? And then third, spend some time with yourself. What is your voice? What do you want to say? What is important to you? Because that's important to help you to get past any kind of fear you may be dealing with.
Well, I thank you so much for taking part of your Saturday afternoon and me.
Yes. Thank you for the invitation.